Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Lessons from Harry Potter. And get my glasses. Okay, muggles, let us begin. So, we are on chapter 9 of the Sorcerer's Stone, and I'm getting all advanced, guys. I'm using stickies now to keep track of the lessons. Okay, so first of all, who's enjoying this series? I don't know. I don't know if you are, but I'm enjoying it a lot. Oh, yay, yes. I'm glad you're enjoying it. These books, so much wisdom and insight packed into such a fun story. It's just such a delight to read. Every time I read it, I'm like, I missed this book. Okay, so in chapter 9, is the Midnight Duel. And it starts out with Harry commenting that he's never met a boy that he dislikes more than Malfoy, and that they're going to have their first flying lesson, which Harry is excited and nervous about. And we have a line here about Hermione being nervous about it, right? Because this is something that you couldn't learn by heart out of a book, not that she hadn't tried. And I just wanted to point out here that there's so much knowledge and information and, stuff that we can learn intellectually, that we can learn and say, I know, I've heard about that, I've read about that, I've understood that thing, the theory of that thing. But knowledge and practice are two different things. So when they say, Tony Robbins likes to say this, when they say, knowledge is power, it's not really. It's potential power. The implementation of what you know is actual power. So here you have Hermione recognizing that, oh my God, all the knowledge that I know from books about flying is, when push comes to shove, I have to actually fly. I don't know if this textbook knowledge is going to support me in being able to actually get off the ground, fly, and maneuver comfortably and be good and be skilled at it, even if I understand the theory and all of that. And that's just a really important thing for us to remember, because sometimes we think, oh yeah, I know that. Well, are you applying all you know? And my husband likes to say, does your life look like what you know, right? What you know about health, what you know about wealth, what you know about saving, what you know about relationships, what you know about love language, all the things that you know, does your life actually reflect them? Because knowledge without implementation actually kind of is worse than being ignorant, sadly. Okay, done with that one. Okay, what's next? So they have their flying lesson, and Harry actually is a natural at it, right? And it says, he's in a rush of fierce joy. He realized he'd found something he could do without being taught. This was easy. This was wonderful. And there are some things that are like that for us, that come easy, come natural to us. It could be writing, it could be dancing, it could be gymnastics, it could be, conversing with others. For me, it is coaching, hearing someone share their story and seeing what's underneath and what's the root of it. That just comes easy to me. Other people could be photography, whatever it is. There could be something where it comes easy to you. And that's a blessing. That's a gift. That's something to appreciate, acknowledge, celebrate, and be so grateful for. Because oftentimes, especially in this day and age in our society, we kind of dismiss the things that we're naturally good at and focus on the things where we're struggling and that are hard for us. Okay, well, this I need to work on. I need to get better. Well, what if you just expanded and developed more the thing that you're naturally good at? What if you became a master at that thing? Because literally you can make a living doing anything. I mean, you see all around you, bakers, singers, dancers, TikTokers, gamers, comedians, whatever it is that you're good at, you can make a living out of it. So if there's something you're naturally good at, appreciate and acknowledge that gift, and then go ahead and expand on it. And Harry discovers that with flying, and it's, such a wonderful feeling for him. Okay. And in this instance at school, so Neville flies and gets hurt, and so the teacher, who is it? Mrs. Hooch, has to take Neville to the, where does she have to take him? To the hospital wing. And then the children, right, the kids, the students are all left to themselves. And so Malfoy now starts teasing Harry and also poking fun at Neville. So Neville had gotten a remember-all from his grandmother, which is like described as a rather large marble. So he's gotten this marble and he's been hurt. So his remember-all is lying on the floor, and Malfoy picks it up and is going to do something with it. And Harry is like, give that back, right? So you have now this kind of standoff between Harry and Malfoy. And Malfoy then flies away with it, and Harry flies up after him. And because this is how Harry's really discovering that, like, oh my gosh, I'm really good at flying, because he's naturally like keeping up with Malfoy and like, hovering with him in the air. And now, he's saying like, give me back that remember-all or I'm going to knock you off your broom. And Malfoy gets scared. And Harry says, no Crabbe and Goyle up here to save your neck, Malfoy. The same thought seemed to have struck Malfoy. And here it's just important to recognize that for others and for ourselves, sometimes our strength comes from our proximity to others or being part of the group. And when we're isolated or separated from the group, or when others are isolated or separated from the group, they do not feel that strength. They feel weak. They have no one there to back them up. They have no goons around them or no support and friends around you. And this is just something to keep in mind, because if you only feel strong or powerful when you're with certain people, or if you're with other people and they make you feel insecure and weak, just notice that, because you want to build up your own internal strength, because you're your own person. You're not going to always have, your support systems around you, and you need to be able to feel your own power, feel powerful within yourself, and also make decisions for yourself, not make decisions knowing and counting on other people supporting you or backing you up or agreeing with you. Like, you need to be able to stand on your own. If you were the only person who thought this way or agreed with this thing or wanted to do this thing, would you still do it, right? Or do you only do it because you're going along with the group? And that's an important thing to remember. I started a Harry Potter Instagram group for us to go deeper in this, and I was chatting with someone in there, and she was like, from the first chapter, when I was talking about the Dursleys and how they just wanted to fit in and go along and be with the group, it reminded her, this was Halima was like, it reminded me of the dua, like, verily Islam came as something strange and will return as something strange, so give glad tidings to the strangers. So just this whole notion that, like, you may not be with the group. You may feel like you don't fit in. You may feel different. You may be, looked at weirdly for your views or how you think or what your position is on certain things. And it may seem strange, but give glad tidings to the strangers. So you have Malfoy making that connection that he's up there all alone. And what's he going to do? Right? So he decides to throw the remember-all, and Harry goes in for, this dive to catch it, and catches it just 1 foot off the ground. And Professor McGonagall sees him, and Harry thinks he's in terrible trouble. And his thoughts, what did it say? His thoughts went to being expelled. That he's going to be like Hagrid. Maybe he could become Hagrid's assistant. And again, this is just another point where, like, we assume the worst, right? Like, oh my gosh, McGonagall, she saw me. I'm not supposed to do that. I wasn't supposed to be flying. I wasn't listening to the teacher. I'm in so much trouble. I'm in big trouble. I'm going to be expelled. This is the worst thing. And Professor McGonagall asks Harry to follow her as she's going back to the castle, and he's just following her, like not knowing what's going to happen. And what ends up happening is that Professor McGonagall pulls out another student, Oliver Wood, from class and tells him that, like, oh my gosh, I found your seeker for the Quidditch team. If you guys are unfamiliar with Harry Potter, there's a sport called Quidditch, and Harry, by demonstrating this epic dive where he caught this small ball a foot off the ground, in a 50-foot dive, demonstrated that he would be the perfect person for the position called seeker, where their job is to catch a small ball. And so Harry is not getting in trouble. He is being told that we want to have you be on the Quidditch team, and here's the captain of the Quidditch team. I want you guys to talk. And in fact, first years are not allowed to be on the Quidditch team, but they're going to make an exception for Harry because he is so good, and he's who they need on the team. And so the whole situation is exactly opposite from what Harry thought, right? And I want to start with how this whole thing started was that Malfoy was teasing Neville and took his ball and was going to, throw it up a tree or hide it or something. And Harry felt an urge to defend Neville or to stand up to Malfoy, or whatever the motivation is. There may be mixed motivations, right? He wants to have an altercation with Malfoy. He wants to fight Malfoy. He wants to stand up to Malfoy. He wants to defend Neville. He wants to just fly. Whatever the motivation is, he has this feeling like, no, this isn't right. This isn't right for this person to tease this person. I'm going to get that ball back. And he follows that inclination, which has some good in it, right? To defend someone who is being teased. And from that good intention, he gets a good outcome. And this is so powerful because what I've realized and I've appreciated more and more in my own life is, like, if my motivation, if my intention, and we know in Islam, right, all actions are but intentions. If my motivation and intention is something good, is something, powerful, is something to support others, to serve, to connect, and there could be other mixed intentions in there, but if the overriding one is something that, for all intents and purposes, is positive, you will end up seeing that positive will come out of it. Even though, right, the textbook is like, Harry was not supposed to go on the broom. He was supposed to wait for the teacher to come back. But he did this thing that was against the rules, that was bad, quote unquote, but it was for a morally good reason. And he ends up with a good outcome. And this is just something for us to keep in mind when we are thinking about the rules and following them. And, as Muslims, we have a lot of rules within Islam. And then because we are so taught to be so mindful of those rules of Allah, we tend to also be very obedient and rule abiding of regular man-made rules. But the man-made rules do not have the same effect or weight as Allah's rules, right? And so man-made rules, a lot of them are sheer nonsense. A lot of them are oppressive. A lot of them are unjust. A lot of them are designed just to keep the masses under control. A lot of the rules, I don't know if they should be defied, but can be defied and might be of benefit to them being defied. So if you find yourself in that situation where you're like, oh man, what should I do here? And situations like this happen all the time at work, right? You see something, you observe something, and maybe it hasn't really crossed the line, but inside you feel like, I should speak up. I should say something. I should go tell the boss, or I should say something in this meeting, what they're talking about or what they're saying, or this conference call or this session is going off in a weird direction, or I feel uncomfortable, or, there talking about a group that's not here, that they don't understand, that they can't speak to, and you want to say something, but the rule or corporate culture or, whatever, polite society would have you stay quiet and not speak up or not defend them. Maybe that needs to be defied. Maybe you need to speak up. And if you do that from that place of like, you know what, like, I'm not going to sit here at work and listen to, this inappropriate whatever, I'm going to say something, how it can lead to some greater outcome than you can anticipate. Whereas most of us, just like Harry, think it's going to get me kicked out. I'm going to lose my job. My boss is going to hate me. I'm going to be demoted. I'm going to be off the project. I'm going to be out of the team. All of these things, right? Like, they're going to leave me a bad report. I'll never find a job again. They're going to blacklist me. Whereas when you do the right thing, Allah will catch you. Allah will take care of you. Allah will support you. And coming from that right intention, it's always good. So Harry defends Neville and gets to be the youngest player on the Gryffindor Quidditch team. Next, we have, and this we'll end here on chapter 9, because I was going to do chapter 10, but I've been going on and on. Hold on one second. Chapter 9, what was the last thing? Then they, we have a whole adventure here. Oh my gosh. Because of that, Neville wants to have a duel with Harry, right? Harry's like, I'll fight you on the ground, basically. And Malfoy wants to have a duel with Harry. And Malfoy is like, okay, let's have a wizarding duel at midnight. And so they plan for this duel. Harry goes out with Ron to go and meet Malfoy. Hermione is very annoyed and upset by this and is scolding them not to do it, and then gets locked out of their dormitories, so she can't go back to bed. So she's like, I'm going to come with you guys. So I don't want to be alone by myself. And then they find Neville on the floor, and he had gotten locked out because he couldn't remember the password to get in. And Neville's like, I'm going to come with you guys. So now you have Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Neville wandering the corridors looking for Malfoy. They go to the place where they're going to meet, and it's a trap. Malfoy's not there. Mr. Flinch is there and trying to catch them, so they run away, and they get to a place where there's just a locked door, and Hermione opens the door because they're like, oh my god, we don't want to get caught, and they open the door and they get inside, and unbeknownst to them, they have entered the corridor, which Professor Dumbledore had said would be closed. And when they're in that room, they discover a 3-headed dog, which looks like it's about to attack, and they quickly are able to get out of it. So, from this situation, from them like going to try and meet Malfoy, they end up in a place where they wouldn't have normally been and encounter something that they wouldn't have normally seen, right? They were not supposed to go to that corridor. They were listening by never going to that corridor. But because they were trying to escape, they end up in that room and discover something, which now this discovery, right? You can't unsee something. So this discovery, of course, is curious and intriguing to them. What's going on? And Hermione notices that this, the 3-headed dog is guarding something. And then Harry makes the connection to what he saw at Gringotts, and he's like, oh my gosh, when I was at Gringotts with Hagrid, he took something to be guarded, and he said that Hogwarts is the second safest place. So he's making these connections. And this is all just to point out that, like, you see what you see and you learn what you learn, and connect the dots. Don't be like, well, I wasn't supposed to see that, or I wasn't supposed to know that, or connect the dots. Connect the dots of what you've been given. Investigate, uncover, and see where it takes you. And so in this situation, because of whatever happened, that's where it led them. Okay? So I'm going to end here With chapter 10, inshallah, next time we will, no, with chapter 9, inshallah, next time we'll go to chapter 10. Assalamu alaikum.